Hello and welcome back to the Low Effort channel, also known as Exotic Beverage Reviews. This is episode 8, which is, I don't know, 2 times episode 4 and the square root of episode 64. Today's victim is Flying Power in 3 variations or flavours. This is a 3-in-1, I guess, because life's short and my storage space for undrunk energy drinks is finite and I need to move these things along. Also, in isolation, these just aren't that interesting, but together, let's hope they're more than the sum of their parts. I mean, look at them. The 3 colours form a traffic light. Flying Power is the flagship energy drink offering from Aldi supermarkets. If you're not familiar with Aldi, then you must be living under an absolutely spectacular rock. But anyway, I'll fill you in. Aldi is a German supermarket that's found its way into Australia about 20 years ago, and it's famous for a few things. It's famous for checkouts that are so fast they cause anxiety. It's famous for selling decent quality knockoffs of popular brands. This is pretty much Aldi's entire business model, actually. They basically just sell the equivalent of home brand products, but instead of branding everything with one consistent brand, like No Frills or Black and Gold, they register their own individual brands for each of their products and package them accordingly. It's a surprisingly clever strategy, actually. They're also famous for their special buys aisle, which, given a long enough timeline, you can basically buy everything from bulk groceries to a saxophone and a unicycle and energy drinks. This stuff is called Flying Power, which seems like a perfectly decent and original name for an energy drink, but it doesn't take that much to realise that that's actually not the case. Aldi's business model, as I just discussed, in the nicest possible way, is to knock off leading brands and make their own versions. The market leader for energy drinks is Red Bull, and the slogan, Red Bull gives you wings. Wings grant you the power of flight, and this stuff is called Flying Power. It's just clever enough to not really be clever. It's a decent enough name for an energy drink, it's just not very original when you sort of analyse it. If I saw Flying Power in a convenience store or a service station, it really wouldn't seem out of place at all, so I guess it passes the test. All 3 versions of Flying Power have the same one-line claim on the can, which is that it's a formulated caffeinated beverage that claims to be stimulating and invigorating, and for some reason the font size is slightly smaller on the original red can than the other 2, even though it's exactly the same text. I actually really quite like the branding. It's simple, it's classy, the design translates nicely between the 3 different variations, the logo is decent enough, the fonts are appropriate and trendy. My favourite design element in the entire thing is the colour-coded ring pulls, which are just absolutely delightful. They didn't have to do that, and for a company that's kind of all about cost cutting at any possible stage in the process, it's a really nice touch that adds a lot of design value to the cans. There are 2 other flavours of Flying Power that are only available in bigger cans, watermelon and mango, and I'll review those at some point in the future, but they both have the same design styling and the coloured ring pulls as well, which is really quite nice. It's very cute. All 3 of the cans are virtually identical, and they warn you that the drink contains caffeine, it's not recommended for children, pregnant women or lactating women, and individuals sensitive to caffeine. You are to consume no more than 1 can per day. I won't be drinking all of these today, just to be clear. Okay, let's start with the original version and we'll go from there. The original version of Flying Power contains water, sugar, acidity regulators, citric acid, sodium citrate, carbon dioxide, taurine, flavour, no details on what flavour nonetheless. Colours, 150A, which is a dark brown made basically from caramelizing sugar. It's usually listed as just caramel as a color on the ingredients listing. Color 101, which is a variation of riboflavin, which is a B vitamin. It also has caffeine, inositol, and a host of B vitamins, so there's no real surprises in that one. The guarana version, green can, is identical, except it has taurine in the ingredients, and we plug in guarana extract as an additional source of caffeine. And the tropic version is also pretty much the same. It has dextrose, which is a kind of sugar which is made from wheat. It has color 160E, which is an orange color that's generally synthesized, but it originally came from oranges and tangerines. And it has 2 additional stabilizers in the form of xanthan gum and ester rosin. Nothing super surprising across all of those ingredients, but clearly there are some differences between the versions. Alright, I've swapped these out for some refrigerated cans, so they've got the best possible chance of tasting decent. So we'll do these one at a time, although I've got 3 glasses. So we'll start with the original version. Is it original? It is original. Original in the red can. We've got Tropic. And we've got Guarana. So observationally, using the eyeballs, we've got that one is slightly darker, that one's sort of in the middle, and that one is quite pale. There's really nothing about them colour-wise beyond they're a caramel colour, which is consistent with the ingredients. They're nice and clear, like they're not milky or cloudy. Alright, smell time, starting with original. It smells like taurine and bile and a little bit sickly sweet vomity flavour that comes with those sorts of drinks, to be expected. In the tropic department we have, ooh, interesting, fruity. Not entirely sure what kind of fruit, sort of a melony sort of fruit happening there. And the guarana version, it's almost identical to original, so it's got that taurine and bile sort of smell. I think it might actually be less smellsome than the less fragrant, that's the word I'm looking for, smellsome, good God. Less fragrant than the original version. Alright, tasting time original. I have my suspicions about what this will taste like. Imagine Red Bull, but less sweet, just a little less sweet than Red Bull. A little bit bitter. It's fine. It's a spectacularly average energy drink, in as much as, you know, it's not bad, it's not great, it's fine. Tropic. Oh, it's got like a real citrus hit to it. A little bit sour. It's definitely got a fruity aspect to it that the original doesn't. Clearly something's very different in it, the colour's different. It's really quite nice. It's very sweet, very sour, very fruity. Not bad. Vast improvement over original. So given that these are all the same price, all available on the same shelf, I'd go that one so far. And this is the guarana version. Basically the same as the original, just using guarana as a source of caffeine rather than just plain caffeine. So this one gives us what? It's really mild. Well, maybe that's just because I just tried the Tropic. I'm just going to compare. There's not much in it between those two. That's a little bit more everything, but not much. It's that one really throws your taste buds out, the Tropic, because it's got sweet and sour going on. These two are very similar. The guarana is just much more sweet and much more with that bilious sort of taurine flavour. It's not bad, like they're all perfectly acceptable. As far as a final verdict on them, all 3 of them are perfectly acceptable. If I had to pick one, if I was just going to wander into an Aldi and purchase a drink, bearing in mind that they don't always sell these cold, they're usually on the shelf, I would go for the Tropic. It just has a more interesting flavour than these two. If you felt the need to buy these two, you probably really should just buy a Red Bull, because you'll be getting a better drink that's more like a Red Bull. These are just trying to be a Red Bull. But having said that, they're also 99 cents each. So whereas a Red Bull might cost you $4, these are very cheap and they're perfectly adequate. Nothing wrong with them. So yeah, 99 cents a piece. Can't really go wrong. Alright, so today's ingredient isn't actually an ingredient. It's just a thing that arises when you collect and try a lot of energy drinks and start noticing trends between them. And one of those trends is that a lot of energy drinks just taste like Red Bull. You thought I was going to say crap, didn't you? No, they taste like Red Bull. Or, you know, they taste like something very similar to Red Bull. Flying Power is a particularly egregious example, as the branding and the marketing and everything about it clearly indicates that it's meant to be Aldi's version of Red Bull. So its similarity to the market leader is not just a coincidence. This stuff is even made in Austria, just like Red Bull. Back in the early 2000s, when I started collecting energy drinks and when the market was truly saturated with all different kinds of energy drinks, all trying to find their own little niche of teens and hipsters to exploit, it was really quite common to find a lot of energy drinks, particularly in these 250ml cans, were just cheap versions of Red Bull with the same honey colour, the slightly bilious or medicinal flavour from the taurine, which tastes like bile, and usually with someone else's label just slapped onto the can. And I honestly suspect that there were only one or two, maybe, factories that were making all of the drinks, and the companies would just pay to have their branding slapped on the cans. In fact, the more unlikely it was for a brand or a company to have their own energy drinks manufactured, the more likely it was that what came out of the can would taste like Red Bull. I had some Ed Harry and Mike Tyson branded energy drinks way back in the day that were not in any way original beverages beyond the design that was on the can. So yeah, just something to watch out for with energy drinks. The more random they are, the more likely they are to be fake versions of Red Bull. Although it's becoming less common these days as energy drinks, the energy drink bubble has burst. So most manufacturers are actually trying to make unique products now. So that was Flying Power from Aldi, at least the smaller 3 cans of it. I'll do the other ones at some point in the future, so watch this space. If you enjoyed this review, then please consider subscribing to this channel, Exotic Beverage Reviews, and stick around for next time when I have a 50-50 chance of liking or disliking a drink, and I guess I'll try to make it interesting anyway.